finals were over, I went home on like December 17th or something like that, and I spent the holidays home with my family. It was really nice. I slept for like a week straight. I was so exhausted after taking finals, but then I had to go back to campus on December 30th, which was like 2 or maybe even 3 weeks earlier than everybody else had to come back to campus. And this was because I was an athlete. So I'm not saying that I'm ungrateful for anything. I'm just acknowledging the fact that being an athlete, especially at a school like this, is very, very demanding, time consuming, and at some points it was detrimental to my mental health, and I'll get into that later. But I had to be back on campus on December 30th, which was before the new year even started, and I didn't even get like a full 2 weeks at home at this point. And you know, especially after such a chaotic and overwhelming semester, I probably did need more time at home, but I really couldn't get that because we had our first meet at the very beginning of January. So I understand why we did need to be back on campus, but also for my own like mental sanity and my own like mental health, I probably needed an extra week at home at least to just kind of like reset and prepare for my second semester, because from there, like from the time that we got back to campus at the beginning of January, we just ran straight through until like the end of May. It was just a whole like roller coaster of events, and just not being able to have a break or get away from that stressful environment, I think really took a toll. I mean, anyway, I was back on campus December 30th. We started training. The whole way that winter session works, I did do a couple vlogs, I think, about that if you want to see how my experience was during winter session. It was weird because like we only had gymnastics. We would dedicate everything towards like PT, like physical therapy, training, team lifts, like little team events, maybe some like team bonding stuff, but like really it was just bizarre being on campus and having the campus be so empty. I felt super lonely and isolated. There were no dining halls. We had to go do our own groceries and use the communal kitchens to cook ourselves some food. I guess I just don't have words for it. It was just a different type of experience that I wasn't fully ready for. I just remember feeling so anxious. Like when I had to go back on December 30th, I genuinely cried for the full hour and 30-minute drive down to school. Like for some reason, I was just so not ready to go back. And at the moment, my mom would be like, why are you so upset? Like what's going on? I didn't know what to say because I was like, I really don't know what's going on. Like I thought I was ready to go back. Like I thought I had like prepared myself for that. But like looking back now, like I can definitively say I wasn't. I just had a really difficult time with that transition because I knew that like this is it. Like now I'm back here and I'm gonna be here till May, and it's just gonna be go, go, go. Like I'm not gonna get another break. And I think just like mentally setting myself up for that was like very challenging because I also didn't know how my season was gonna work out. I didn't know what to expect there. I didn't know how much free time I was gonna have to do my schoolwork, and I was just, I guess, stressed that I thought it was gonna be too much for me. So I guess just all the stress of that just kind of like created this whole perfect storm of like anxiety and like even a little hint of like depression in there. And like this is nobody's fault, not even my own. Like I'm not even gonna sit here and be like, oh, this was like fully my fault, because it wasn't. It's just like the way that it happened, and like it already happened, so there's no point in like dwelling over it. But I think it's important to note and to acknowledge so other people that may be experiencing something similar don't think that they're so different from everyone else. I was probably the most stressed out and anxious that I've ever been in my life. Anyways, in the midst of that all, we're back on campus, we're preparing for our season, and I get COVID. So at this point, like I didn't even compete my first college meet because I got COVID, and I was sent to the COVID hotel, which is like a Marriott in downtown Providence, and I was living there for 10 days. I was just so like discombobulated, and I was like, why is this happening? Like I came back for the specific reason to compete, and I'm not even gonna be competing now. I just missed my first college gymnastics meet, and I remember just feeling so much like anger and like sadness at the time because I was like, I could have just been home with my family, honestly, and now I'm in a hotel alone for 10 days straight. My team is like out there competing without me. It was just such a sucky feeling. Now looking back on it, I can say that I actually dodged a bullet with that because most of my team ended up getting COVID throughout the season anyways, but they got it at much worse times because I realized that the season really does build from the first meet on. So getting it at the beginning was probably the best time I could have gotten it, because if I would have gotten it later, it would have really messed up my momentum of being in season and competing consistently and everything. So I missed my first college gymnastics meet. The second one got canceled because of COVID, and then the third one I finally got to go to, and I was so excited because this was our huge travel meet where we went to UNC. We got a tour around the campus, we got to treat it as a little mini vacation as the team, and we got to compete there. That was definitely a really great experience for me. I had a really good college debut. I got to compete floor and vault. I was really proud of how I did and how I held myself together because it was like kind of like the big stage, you know, first time around. It was a much bigger meet than everyone had experienced for the first meet. And also, I guess it's important to note that at this point we still hadn't started school yet, so we were just strictly focusing on gymnastics. Almost once we got back from UNC, we started classes, and that stressed me out. I'm not even gonna lie. I was so just an anxious mess that it was like crippling almost. And like, yeah, I've had, you know, on and off issues with my anxiety throughout my life, but it has never ever been this bad. For almost the entire second semester, I had anxiety to the point where it was like debilitating. I don't want to sound like harsh or anything, but this was just the truth. Like, I was insanely anxious every single day. I would wake up some mornings and just not even be able to get out of bed, or drag myself out of bed because I had to get on with my day and just like be bawling in the bathroom, like a complete train wreck. It was really like, now that I think back on it, it was really sad to see how I was in such a bad like mental state. I was just like really depressed. I can't even lie. Like sometimes like I know that is like a thrown around term. You're like, oh, like yeah, I was so depressed, but like no, I was genuinely in such a bad place. Like it really took a lot of effort to get me out of bed. Like I had difficulty just like taking care of my person. Like I didn't want to feed my person, didn't want to do the things that I would normally love to do for myself. Like I had no motivation to do any of that. I had no motivation to do any of my schoolwork, and that in itself really stressed me out because at the beginning of my semester I like was kind of like bumming off my work, and you can kind of get away with that at the very beginning of the semester because there's no actual assignments due. It's all just like intro to the course, but it is a very important foundation. Like you do still need to put your work in, because if you don't do the work in the beginning, you're just going to be playing catch up all year, which is basically what I did my whole second semester. And then on top of trying to catch up with school and then manage my gymnastics season, I was really struggling. Yeah, I had just gotten into such a bad mental state where I was like crying multiple times a week. Just felt so hopeless and stressed and just like in a constant state of anxiety where like my heart was racing. I like felt like I couldn't breathe properly. I was just crying like out of nowhere about who knows what. Like I couldn't even like put my finger on it and be like, this is what I'm upset about, because I didn't know. I was just a nervous wreck. And it was so frustrating for me because I'd be like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I get my life together? Like I need to like snap out of this. And I don't think people acknowledge enough how difficult it is to get out of a position like that. When you hear about this stuff, and like even now that I'm talking about myself, I'm like, why didn't I just, you know, do what I needed to like get better? Well, it's not that easy. I really tried to do everything and anything for myself to pull myself out of that state, but it is truly like all consuming. Anyway, enough of my sob story. I'm better now, okay? I'm better now, and I think the next 3 years will be a lot better because now I know what to expect. It's not going to be all new to me. I know how to handle my anxiety a little bit better now. And like, yeah, a little bit of stress and anxiety is normal, and sometimes it's even good because it keeps you like plugging away a little bit, but not like the debilitating type. Anyways, at the very end of January, we had our very first home meet. So I got to compete on my home ground. I got to have some of my school friends come and watch me compete gymnastics. It was really cool, and I really enjoyed that. Okay, moving on to February. For the month of February, we were really just in the thick of season. We would have classes and school and practices Monday through Friday, and then we'd be competing either Saturday or Sunday. We would be gone the entire day traveling and competing, come back completely exhausted. Then also having like school and classes, and also, as I mentioned before, like kind of being behind in my classes because of that like whole episode that I had at the beginning of the semester, like really stressed me out even more. And it was just like, it was a whole snowball of events. It was just a whole cycle. It was definitely hard balancing because we would be traveling and competing on the weekends. Maybe it would just take up a full day, like it would take up a full Saturday or a full Sunday, but sometimes we would have an overnight meet, so we'd be traveling like Friday night, get there Saturday, compete Saturday, travel back Sunday morning or Saturday night, like super late Saturday night. I'm not sure, but sometimes it would just take up a full day, sometimes it would take up multiple days of my weekend, and it's just really hard when you're also trying to adjust your classes to sacrifice that type of time. I was lucky enough to be put in lineup the whole season for every meet that we competed, and at these meets I would be competing 2 events and sometimes even 3 events. So at the end of these meets I would be absolutely exhausted, and I just like had such a hard time working on the bus. Like I get motion sickness really easily, so when we're on those like 6-hour bus trips, I would either just sleep or stare off or try to do work and just not be successful with it and get frustrated and then end up sleeping anyway. And I don't know, it was like a whole thing. Like, I guess just through the month of February I was hanging on for dear life, like trying to get everything done, trying to put my absolute all into everything, because you know I wanted to go to my meets and do the best that I absolutely could. I wanted to come back on the weekdays and go to my classes and put my all into my classes and my assignments. And I also tried to make a little bit of time for like my friends and hanging out with my boyfriend, because it is truly the little things that keep you going and that are important. I don't know what I would have done without my team or my friends or my support system, because for as hard as this was, I'm just so grateful for like everyone that helped me through it.